Sugar makes kids hyperactive. You have seen it. Every parent has seen it. You put a bowl of candy in front of children, and 20 minutes later, they are bouncing off the walls. Birthday parties, Halloween, Christmas morning. The connection is obvious. The sugar goes in, the chaos comes out. Except I started looking into the studies behind this, and there is a problem, a serious problem. The studies that tested this, the actual controlled trials, none of them could find it. Not one. Researchers gave kids sugar, gave other kids a placebo, watched their behavior carefully. No difference. The hyperactivity wasn't there. But wait, I've seen it happen. Parents have seen it happen. Millions of people have watched this occur in real time. How is that possible? Because it turns out the thing that causes the hyperactivity at birthday parties isn't the sugar. It's the birthday party. So if sugar doesn't cause hyperactivity, if the thing everyone has witnessed with their own eyes is actually something else, where did the connection come from? And why does it feel so real? Let's go back to where this started. Because this myth has an origin and it's more interesting than you'd expect. The year is 1973. A physician named Ben Feingold publishes a hypothesis. He's working with children who have attention and behavioral problems, and he becomes convinced that food additives, artificial colors, preservatives, and yes, sugar are the cause. He writes a book called Why Your Child is Hyperactive. It becomes a bestseller. Feingold was not a crank. He was a respected allergist at Kaiser Permanente. His ideas felt plausible. They fit what parents were already observing. And the timing was perfect. This was the 1970s. Processed food was exploding. Artificial additives were everywhere, and parents were looking for explanations. The Feingold diet spread fast. Parents tried it. Some reported their children improved. The belief locked in. Here's the problem. When researchers actually tested Feingold's hypothesis in controlled conditions, double-blind, placebo-controlled, the results didn't hold up. The diet did not consistently produce the behavioral improvements he claimed. Some of the studies showed small effects for food dyes specifically, but sugar? The evidence wasn't there. That didn't stop the belief. By the time the science came back negative, the myth was already installed in parenting culture. You don't undo that with a study. So the researchers kept testing. Through the 1980s, the 1990s, the studies kept accumulating. In 1995, a team at Vanderbilt University, Mark Woolrake and colleagues, published a meta-analysis in the Journal of the American Medical Association. They pooled 23 controlled trials, 23 separate experiments testing sugar and behavior in children. The conclusion was unambiguous. Sugar does not affect children's behavior or cognitive performance. 23 trials, no effect. And yet, here's where it gets genuinely strange. Even after that paper came out, surveys showed that the majority of parents still believed sugar caused hyperactivity. The science had gone in one direction. The belief had gone in the other. So what is actually happening at those birthday parties? Because something is clearly happening. Kids are running around, they're screaming, they can't sit still. If it's not the sugar, what is it? The answer is expectation and context. In 1994, a researcher named Daniel Hoover at the University of Iowa ran a remarkable experiment. He took mothers of children who they described as sugar sensitive and told half of them that their child had just been given a large dose of sugar. The other half were told their child had been given a placebo. In reality, every single child received a placebo, no sugar at all. Then, the mothers watched their children play and rated their behavior. The mothers who were told their child had consumed sugar rated their children as significantly more hyperactive. They also hovered closer to their children, asked more questions about how they were feeling, and interacted with them differently. The belief changed how they perceived and responded to the behavior they were seeing. This is expectation bias operating at full power. The mothers were not lying. They genuinely perceived what they believed they would see. The brain is extraordinarily good at finding evidence for what it already believes. Now layer on top of that the context problem. Birthday parties are not normal environments. You've got 20 children in an enclosed space, music, games, presents, social excitement, sleep deprivation from staying up late, the specific social thrill of being around other children who are also excited. Any one of those factors would elevate a child's energy level. Sugar gets the credit because it arrives in a visible, dramatic way. The cake comes out, everyone eats, and then the chaos begins. The timing creates the illusion of causation, but the sugar is a passenger. The party is doing the work. There's also something worth understanding about how sugar actually works in the body, because the story that sugar gives you a spike and then a crash, that's also more complicated than it sounds. Glucose does enter the bloodstream after you eat sugar, and insulin does respond, but in a healthy child, this process is regulated. The sugar rush as a physiological event, a sudden spike in energy and alertness caused by sugar consumption, has very limited support in the research literature. The body is not a simple input-output machine. Eating a chocolate bar doesn't send a wave of energy directly into a child's muscles and brain the way the myth implies. What sugar does do is taste good. Children like it. They associate it with celebrations. The anticipation of eating it is exciting. The act of eating it is exciting. That is real excitement. But it is not a pharmacological effect of glucose on brain activity. And here's a detail that I find genuinely interesting. Some researchers have suggested that if anything, high sugar intake might have a mild calming effect in some contexts, because insulin release does complex things to amino acid uptake and tryptophan availability. I want to be careful not to overclaim this, the evidence is mixed, but the direction of the effect, if there is one, is the opposite of the myth. So why does the myth survive? We've had clear evidence against it for 30 years. Why do parents still believe it? A few reasons. First, the confirmation bias problem I mentioned. You notice the times kids are hyper after sugar and forget the times they weren't. Second, the party context is genuinely confounded. There is real hyperactivity at birthday parties. It's just caused by everything except the sugar. Third, the myth is passed parent to parent without ever being tested. It's received wisdom. You don't subject received wisdom to controlled experiments at a birthday party. And fourth, this one matters, the myth is functional. If you believe sugar is the culprit, you have a rule. Less sugar means calmer kids. Even if the mechanism is wrong, reducing sugar might change parental behavior in ways that do affect the environment children are in. Less sugar often means less highly processed food, more structured meal times, more attention to what the child is consuming. Those things might actually help. The wrong explanation produces behaviors that accidentally point in a reasonable direction. That is a strange kind of survival advantage for a myth. It sticks around because it's useful, not because it's true. 23 controlled trials, 1 meta-analysis, 30 years of consistent results. Sugar does not cause hyperactivity. What causes hyperactivity at birthday parties is birthday parties. And the fact that millions of parents are absolutely certain they've watched the opposite happen, that's not them being foolish. That's expectation bias and context working exactly as designed on exactly the people you'd expect to be susceptible to it. Parents are primed to watch their children. They notice everything. And when you're primed to notice something, you find it, whether it's there or not. The real story here isn't about sugar. It's about how confident eyewitness observation can be completely, systematically, reliably wrong, and how a belief can survive 30 years of evidence against it because it arrived first and it fits the story people already needed to tell. That's Wrong Wednesday.